Strike a pose.
Welcome viewers to the World Mobile Congress. Here we are in beautiful Barcelona, and this is where they showcase some of the best mobile products that you can possibly buy up in the next coming year. But we're going to be here, and we're not just going to be looking at the top range products, the sort of things that you see in the shops. We're also going to be looking at the in-depth type of technology. We're going to try and give coverage to the type of companies you haven't heard of so much. And we're going to be looking at why. Why now when this technology is capable of coming in? What's changed? What's the new things in science that has enabled us to have these consumer electronics? Well, I hope you enjoy the show, and I hope we can bring you the coverage that you want to see. Thank you very much.
Barbara Streisand
Strikes a pose.
Barbara Streisand
Strikes a pose.
This is one of the most interesting halls that are actually in the World Mobile Congress. This is called Planet. This is where quite a lot of the young startups are, and we're just going to have a little look at those. Also, as you can tell, it focuses around apps and quite a lot of software development, which is where quite a lot of young engineers are spending their time these days. Anyway, let's go and have a look. Something else that you see quite a lot in the World Mobile Congress is actually countries supporting themselves, so actual governments. So this is the Japanese area. There's a lot of individual Japanese companies that are here, and I would expect that the Japanese government is therefore supporting them to come here to promote their own country. Many other countries are also doing the same. I've seen Israel, Brazil, Turkey, Lithuania. I've seen loads of different countries here. Sorry, I picked out Japan because I have friends who are Japanese. Apologies. Anyway, I just wanted to point this out, and it's a really good way that you see younger companies are actually building up. Let's go and have an example now of one of these companies.
For example, this is a fashion advert or a live fashion show, and you're a customer and you think, oh, I'd love to see that dress in purple. You can click on the dress and you can change the colour and see all the available colours. You can also see available sizes, product information, price, and also it's fully shoppable, so you can click to buy or touch to buy, as we say at Touchalize, and go straight to the website to purchase the product. So here I can make you the star of the video and you can be a real hero. So this is an example of a Sony advert. So you think you're just watching a normal advert and we see everybody's looking at somebody, but who is it? It's you! So it's really interactive and really engaging, and it's really fun as a customer to get involved in an advert. This is with EA Games. It's an in-game video. Got a picture of you, and we can now place this into the video. And you'll see, you will now appear on the billboards during the video. So you're a real part of the advert. So I'll pause it so you can see yourself. There you are, on the billboard.
That's fantastic. Now, one of the things that the World Mobile Congress is quite famous for is the keynote speeches, and it's a great place where the CEOs of very large companies have their chance to say to the rest of the industry what they're thinking about how the technology is going to progress. So before we look into 2013, I'd like to look a bit into 2012 and the sort of things we learned from there. So I'm just going to pick out a couple of extracts there of the things I like, and I do strongly suggest that you try and watch these speeches in full or just listen to them. They're very, very interesting. So if we look at Eric Schmidt, for example, who spoke last year, he's the CEO of Google. He was explaining quite a lot of things about Moore's Law and about how things are going to change. And also he explained about how the developing world is also going to, how it's progressing and how that's actually becoming part of the life. This is something that's very close to me. So let's have a look what he had to say.
When are we going to see Android on feature phones?
On feature phones? Why don't you just buy a smartphone? Okay, so a better question is, when will smartphones cost what feature phones cost? And the answer is next year, right? Because of Moore's Law, right? So if you think about last year's $400 Android phone is next year's $100 phone, roughly speaking. So I think it's one of those things where it's hard to take. There are people working on it, but you need a phone with a basic screen and a basic browser that can run the kind of computation to do the things I'm talking about. And it's happening. We have many, many partners, many of whom are here at the show, who are working on phones that will be in the $100 to $150 range. Their eventual goal is to get it to $70 range. If you look at the partitioning in feature phones, when you get to the $70 point, all of a sudden there's a huge new market. And in many cases, especially in poorest areas, the phones are ultimately resold in the $20 and $30 range. So this is achievable within the next couple of years. That's why this message of globalization is so important.
Hi, I'm Peter. I'm a journalist for ZDNet Belgium. You talked about connecting the other 5 billion. Isn't it the same story as with a phone line or with basic electricity? By the time that these people will get their 1 megabit connection, that the world has evolved so much, economics have fundamentally changed, that they will still be behind. Won't the gap still exist?
This, of course, is what I said in my talk, so I agree with you. That if you, in fact, to some degree, the gap gets larger, because while everybody else is incredibly excited with an ISDN 64K times 2 or 256K or GPRS connection at a megabit, right? So for them, it's life-changing. The connected, privileged few, sort of all of us, are busy with, a fiber gigabit and so forth. So in fact, on a percentage basis, the gap is greater. But it does not negate the importance of getting them connected now. Because if you are in a subsistence village in one of these poorer countries, the arrival of that kind of information is life-changing. The arrival of textbooks, for example, where you can learn to read. There are experiments now that are fantastic where people are putting in tablets and low-cost computers which have learn-to-read software in villages that are full of people who are illiterate. And we believe, all of us believe, that people are so ingenious they'll learn how to read this way, they'll get themselves connected. So if you take my position of the world, which is that the average person is incredibly creative with respect to what they're given, let's give them what we can as fast as we possibly can and get them there. If the gap persists, at least everyone will have the benefit of the kind of global knowledge that we all have today.
So the other video I'm going to take, I want to explain an extract of, is Hans Vestberg, who is the CEO of Ericsson as well, who came to speak here last year, and actually speaking again here in 2013. And he has some quite interesting statistics, so we'll just listen to this now.
If you then think about one of the things that Ericsson has been talking about is that we believe by 2020, it's going to be 50 billion connected devices. 50 billion. Okay, you're all sitting wondering, can that be possible? So let's start working on it. I have one smartphone, I actually have two. So I have two smartphones, I have a pad, I have a laptop that is connected to the network, of course. Then actually, my TV is connected nowadays. I have a power meter in my basement that is sending signals from my power reader to how much I'm consuming power. So that's 6. But I can also continue with, I have a surveillance system that is actually sending information as well, connected. And to be honestly, and to be really personal, I also have a scale that is connected through Wi-Fi, so I can get my weight every day sent up to the internet. Some think it's good to have, some not. That means that I have 8 connected devices, and I'm probably not the most advanced user you can find. There are many others that have much more.
And also the other thing that I really liked what you said was about how our uses of mobile has changed and how it's changing our lives and for the better, how we're making use of it. And so let's just have a little look at that.
Consumers. We made a research recently in the US on smartphone users, and we found out, not strange, but think about it. 74% of the time spent on a smartphone is not to do a call. And 26% of the time is to make a call, a voice call. It's mind-boggling that 3/4 of the time you spend on the phone is now something different than voice. We built the network for voice from the beginning, one single service. And today, we're using it totally different. Just go back 3-4 years, make the same survey on a feature phone. 90% of the time was a voice call, 10% was SMS, and sometimes trying to go through a WAP gateway to the internet. Fairly unsuccessful. That has happened in a very short time.
Well, thank you. So that's just a couple of extracts of the keynotes from 2012. Obviously, there's a lot of keynote which they do. They last all day, every day, so there's a lot to go through. Hopefully, I can post back some of the information that has caught my eye during the 2013 Mobile Congress. Quite a cool little feature that I've just seen in one of the Fujitsu phones is something which slows down the voice of the person talking. Quite an interesting sort of thing. I didn't understand what it was for. Basically, it's taking the gaps in between people talking and you're slowing down the words that they're actually saying. And the whole idea of this is that it benefits people who might be a bit hard of hearing to sort of make people easier to understand over the phone. It's quite a cool little idea, and I suppose it's quite a simple but interesting thing that they're implementing to try and make our lives easier. So let's have a little look at how this is done. And stop. We're going to have a look now. What does this diagram actually mean? Straight from their website, you can see quite a lot of information about this function. Here's another version of this diagram. So we're, instead of just having the blocks, we're now looking more on the idea of what is actually in these voice blocks. These are actually waves, or sound waves. They say it refers to 3 different types of technology: voice expansion, pause detection, and delay control. Let's have a look at voice expansion. So what would happen if I were to slow my voice down? Now, if I was to look at a sound wave, what can I read from how it looks to tell me how it will hear? What's the characteristics of this wave? The way I've drawn this wave is to show the signal strength, or the amplitude, versus time. From this, I can see how loud the signal is, or how quiet the signal is. The frequency is how quick it takes the wave to oscillate. How quickly it oscillates depends on how high or how low will be the signal. However, nearly all of the sounds that you will ever hear are made up of a mixture of many thousand different frequencies put together. Now, if we were to split our original signal down into individual frequencies to see the individual signals, the job of the voice expansion technology is to be able to slow the voice, yet keeping all these individual signals oscillating at the same frequency. Next, let's have a look at pause detection. What I want us to think about is thresholds. Now, this is the wave that would represent in my diagram a word, and this is another wave that would represent the next word. Hence, here is the space in between the words. But as you can see, there is some noise, background noise. What's important is to find out when the words end and when the words start. But also, we must not confuse a word to be noise. Therefore, we must choose an appropriate minimum point. What is key to this entire circuit and all this technology is finding this exact cut-up point. Finally, let's have a quick look at delay control. To describe delay control, I'm going to talk about a buffer. What I want to imagine is that we have a rain cloud and there is water that is falling out of it and it's being collected in this bucket. But we're going to call it a buffer. And then from this buffer, gradually the water will be siphoned off nicely at exactly the level that we want. So when finally the cloud has gone and we still have some water in our buffer, the water will carry on leaving the buffer at the rate we like. This analogy here is explaining how the information of the sound is being held in a memory and then gradually trickled out so that it can become this slower voice. Anyway, so as I said, that's quite a cool little engineering feature now that we are putting in things to try and make our lives easier. As I said, I don't want to talk too much about the mainstream companies, but Ford, that's quite a strange company that you'd expect to see at the World Mobile Congress. You'd think it'd be more phones. Well, Ford is a company that was here last year. It actually did a keynote speech here, but also it's trying to take advantage of the type of technology that you'd think isn't maybe not be that useful. So, for example, it's got text-to-speech. Would that be the type of thing that people use often? Well, it's very useful if you're driving, of course. Also, they have things such as voice-activated apps, which you may think, oh, okay, maybe if I'm out running, that might be useful. But no, it's great if you're driving. So, for example, they have a great example here. You can activate Spotify, which is a music download service, just by talking and saying, I want to start playing this video. And also, they have good interactions between you and your friend's phone. So, such as if one of your phones is using Bluetooth, and the other one then can actually take the call, and you can interact with each other's phones. So, this is an example. We're taking advantage of the technology which is there and which is gradually growing, and then it's only going to be more exciting about how the technology is progressing from an engineering type point of view, and how science is progressing it into our everyday lives. This is a perfect example of how technology is changing us for the better. LTE technology. Now this is something that you see an awful lot of in the World Mobile Congress. LTE, or long-term evolution, is an informal word that we can use to describe 4G. Now, I actually went to a lecture of LTE technology whilst I was here in the Mobile World Congress, and they gave some stats such as nowadays they're saying there's about 9 million connections of LTE in the world, and they're predicting something like about 5 years there will be 795 million connections of LTE or 4G technology. That is an impressive statistic. Something else that you see quite a lot of in the Mobile World Congress is the emphasis that they're putting on seamlessness or cablelessness. There's some good examples of this, of NFC technology, how that's being used, which we'll have a look at an example in a minute. Or also how there's something called wireless charging that actually I hadn't really heard of before. That's coming up in a minute as well. But first we're going to have a look at the technology, which is where you're able to seamlessly carry on listening to your internet radio or a podcast. Something I do quite often is actually listen to a podcast. I'm in the street and I'm walking, and then I'm listening to it using the 3G signal, and then I go back into my house and then it stops as it's changing the connection. Well, I came across this company whilst I was here in the Congress. Let's have a look.
So Sharedband Connect is a way of seamlessly roaming between Wi-Fi and 3G networks. So I think an awful lot of people have been very annoyed by the fact that they're using their smartphones out and about, listening to internet radio, watching live TV, and then they walk into or past the hotspot, and what they find is everything stops. It's very painful, and after a while of it flipping in and out, when you switch between these different networks, or people just turn off Wi-Fi and just stick with 3G, that costs you more, and also you get generally slower speeds. So Sharedband has been designed to really try and smooth over these different networks as you move between them. So the way the technology works is we have a little piece of software that sits on here. What it does is it tries to keep the 3G and the Wi-Fi connections open. What it then does is essentially splits the traffic across those different lines. We bring that traffic back together again at the server. And what normally happens with these internet connections is you have something called an IP address, which is how you contact other devices on the internet. And what normally happens is you send traffic out over Wi-Fi that comes from the Wi-Fi connection. And if the Wi-Fi drops and you move up to 3G, you've now got a 3G IP address. So the other end sees, well, you come from a different place, stop what you're doing, restart it. With Sharedband, what happens is through our servers that are tunneling all of the traffic that are out on the internet, that's where we give you an IP address. So whether you're going over 3G, 4G, home Wi-Fi, business Wi-Fi, a public hotspot, your IP address stays the same. It's at that server. So as connections come in and drop out, it doesn't matter. To the outside world, to the internet, your IP has stayed the same. In education today, an awful lot of establishments are teaching you how to use technology. PowerPoint, Microsoft, Excel, all these sort of things are very valuable skills. But what's happened over the past 20, 25 years is that people's understanding as to how things work has lessened more and more and more. We're taught how to use, but we don't understand some of the fundamentals. So when I was a young lad many, many years ago, we were taught about programming. Yeah? We were taught about how networks operate. At a very basic level, it gives you some appreciation as to the complexity and just how complex some of these very basic things are. So when you do move between mobile network and Wi-Fi, actually there's an awful lot of things that happen underneath. And I think because people, it's not sparking young person's initiatives, it's not really giving them something exciting to think about. Using PowerPoint isn't exciting, but when you really understand how some of these fundamental technologies work, it really sparks the imagination. That's what we really need more of, deeper understanding as to what's going on. The internet is full of tools out there that help you program. Yeah? There's initiatives like the Raspberry Pi, which is a small little device, very low cost. Actually, an awful lot of schools are starting to roll out, and the likes of Google, I know, are paying for those to go into British schools. So the tide is changing. The schools and the education sector are really understanding, well, hold on, we've gone far too much to one extreme in terms of technology use. We're trying to give people a better fundamental understanding as to how things operate. Things are changing, but it requires schools, it needs the government, it needs the kids themselves and parents to really start asking the question why. Why is it doing that rather than just taking it for granted? So Mobile World Congress is really the launch pad for our mobile products. As I say, our business has primarily been combining fixed lines for businesses, but now moving that into the mobile space. That's really a big part of our business going forward. So Mobile World Congress is our launch pad for that.
This is another area of the Mobile World Congress, which is where they're trying to show off to us how useful it will be to have many more devices connected to the internet. Hence it's called the Connected City. Let's go and have a look at the examples about how beneficial this will be to us in the future.
Okay, so 120 households you can get 17.
Back down at 45 miles an hour. They look even more mental on the little racing bikes like this as you go past them. You got behind them going, excuse me.
iPhone too, or only Android devices?
Okay, iPhone is still with a sleeve
Solution with another backup.
Put your phone on it. Oh, you can't see it if I don't let it open.
iPhone 5 definitely will work.
So I am not sure. Here you go. Okay.
Did you also see that becoming integrated?
So the Wireless Power Consortium was founded some years ago, and they introduced the standard for wireless charging. It's called the Qi standard. So if you ever see the letters QI next to each other, this is a Qi standard for wireless charging. That means it doesn't matter if you have a Nokia phone, an HTC or whatever, you can place on any surface that has a Qi standard, the Qi sign on it, and therefore it's just compatible. We are working with 138 companies right now in order to have more products that are integrated Qi devices. So that means we have it in tables right now, we have it in cars such as a Toyota console, and therefore the market for wireless charging is huge. So right now we have 38 telephones integrated or prepared for the Qi. So that means you have the whole phone you buy in the store and the Qi is already in there. The other thing you just need is a charging pad or a charging surface such as this table here. So that means you would place the phone here and it just starts charging. You do not need any cable anymore. So we have a transmitter underneath. That means we have a coil on the transmitter side, getting power from cable from, let's say, car charge or whatever. And then on the other side we have a receiving coil on the phone or on other receiving devices. Those two coils have inductive charging, and the inductive charging transfers the energy from one to the other. So that would be very easy, but of course there's some more engineering to it, there's more technology to it, and there are several devices, several designs. We have moving coils, we have a one-coil solution, we have multiple coils, PCB-based coils, so there's a whole variety. Whatever the user wants to have, they have a variety to choose from. The technology of wireless charging is actually not that brand new. You can think of toothbrushes, you can think of inductive cooking. It's about the same transfer of energy. So it came with the smartphones that are really power hungry. Think of a smartphone, you can lay it there for 2 days, but then it's empty at the latest. And therefore the need for more power is really urgent in the smartphone industry. And therefore those devices were the ones that needed the power the most, they are the most power hungry, and now when you can charge them in the middle of the day and on your night desk and out of your office at the McDonald's store, wherever, it's very easy, very convenient, and you do not need to plug it into the wall anymore. Once you're in school and you still do not know, well, what would I like to become later, what might be interesting in my future life or in the life of others, this one is really cool stuff, and it's so, you have a lot of varieties. You can be on the marketing side promoting the whole thing, but you can also be on the engineering side. So there's a lot of physics. The whole thing is based on physics. But of course it needs mathematics, it needs chemistry, and we have smart engineers working on it. We wait for many more, and it's not the final thing is reached yet. I mean, right now we only have the smartphones finalized. But yeah, we already know of netbooks, they will be charged next. But of course, think of the kitchen, free of any cable. There's not so many devices yet out on the market, let's say there's not. And so a lot of young people, we need young ideas, we need new spirit in the industry. And so it's cool stuff because you use your smartphone every day, but you can also expand the whole knowledge to another world, let's say.
Now, something I wanted to draw a bit of attention to whilst I was here is a bit of technology which is quite fundamental to how we're going to implement 4G or LTE technology. So this is the daily magazine that we get in the Mobile World Congress. I'm just going to draw attention to one of the articles here. Okay, you see this is written here, it's quite a large article, and it's about small cells, sharing the data with small cells. Well, we're now going to find out a little bit about what they are and give an example of what the actual small cells look like. Let's go and check it out.
A cell is the area around an antenna where devices can reliably connect to it.
Any phone inside this area should be able to connect to the antenna without any problems. Any phone outside of the area, the service cannot be guaranteed. Let's now imagine that I have one antenna. Connected to my one antenna, I have one phone. And now let's imagine I have another 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 phone. You can imagine, if you would connect too many phones to the same antenna, the data traffic would be so big that in the end, the traffic would not be able to flow. This would then cause a loss of signal. Let's imagine over here we have a small antenna. And then let's imagine over here we have another small antenna. And maybe over here we have another small antenna. And maybe over here we have another small antenna. So now what happens in the same problem, where we have a phone trying to connect this antenna, and we can have another phone which might want to connect, but it will go to this antenna, and we can have another phone, but it will go to this antenna, and we can have another phone, and it will go to this antenna. Each of the four antennas would then have their own pathway to go to the internet. If, however, you have too many phones, again, connected to the grid, then this can cause another traffic jam further up the road. So the traffic jam won't happen at your antenna. Instead, it will happen in your network. This is what we call backhaul traffic. Therefore, a solution to have more phones connected in a crowded area is to use small cells plus a high data backhaul network. Without both of them, this will not work. Right, now Catherine is a company that's caught my eye a little bit. I was familiar with the company in the first place before, but I didn't realise that they're also involved in the manufacture of small cells, as we've just been talking about. So we're just going to check out and have a little look at what small cells actually look like, and then we'll go into a bit more of a description about how they are actually used, and hopefully they'll be a big part of our future. Well, the time has come now to have a look at the keynote speeches and see what news has popped up recently in the Mobile World Congress. I don't want to focus on many products in particular, but there is one that I did really like for very different reasons, which Nokia have produced. So let's have a look at their keynote speech and explain why.
Now, 2.7 billion people in the world are still without a mobile phone. This is a great first phone for them at 15 euros. I repeat that, 15 euros. It's an ideal and beautiful first phone. Now, this phone has been on for almost 2 weeks now, and still has most of its battery left. In fact, in times when most people struggle to get through a day without charging their smartphones, you can charge this phone once a month and still rely on it.
Well, let's go and have a look at the news that they produce in the daily magazines here in the Mobile World Congress.
Well, let's quickly run through a couple of points that I just wanted to raise. So this is a typical example of one of the keynotes where they have a panelist of 5 people. These were various telephone operators. And they, for example, gave some brilliant stats where they said they expect, for example, in the United States that there will be a 30,000% growth in traffic volume, so the amount of data that will be sent and received between mobile devices. And this is due because they said that 75% growth happened over the previous 6 years, which is a really impressive statistic. And then also they're saying that with regards to regulation, it's a bit unfair that how operators are regulated so high, yet you have such openness with software companies such as Google or with Facebook. They're very, very free and open to do what they want, yet you have hardware sort of companies which are regulated quite heavily. Just an interesting thought to go through. And then another article I just want to quickly focus on is by Nasser Marifi, which he was saying that as we start to move into other climates and other countries that aren't really used to having the internet, it's very important that they become content providers as well, that we also are able to have local people producing either articles or videos and that sort of thing on the internet and educational things for them to use themselves, produced locally, in order to get people interested into it. And so now I'm just going to flick through to the article on NFC, which has been really prominent. It wouldn't be fair if I didn't try and focus on this a little bit more. We already saw a video earlier from Sony showing it, but something that I find really useful is that it's focusing again on that seamlessness. It's focusing on how easy it will be to connect to things in the future.
Well, that's some key things I wanted to point out from the keynote speeches. There's obviously a lot more news to come out, and there's plenty of that available on the internet, and I'm sure it will rise up in the next coming days and weeks. And obviously tech news is something that's ongoing. Every day there's new things coming out, which is what makes it so exciting. I'm just going to finish off this episode focusing around that the Mobile World Congress, it isn't just a satellite event. It's not just picked up and then placed in a place in the world and that's it. No, there's a bit of give and take in how they organise it. By this I mean that they actually have incorporated quite a lot of local Catalan companies into the Mobile World Congress. There's actually 50 of them that are being put in the Congress, right in the centre, in between all the halls. So I thought it wouldn't be fair if I didn't give an interview to at least one of these companies. So let's go have a look at one which I really like the look of, and I think this one will catch on. Let's go and have a look.
We have here middleware, machine-to-machine middleware, agnostic from the hardware. Okay, and the evolution in the hardware, in the wireless sensor networks, has provided us the ability to reach the market right now. Okay, at this time, people is getting more awareness about wireless sensor networks and energy efficiency. So we can we can use the new advances on the protocols and on the hardware to reach more people and to develop some cool stuff. So, for example, we can use this device, this sensor. This is a wireless sensor for measuring the energy consumption within an office, for example. Then we are using Modbus port. This is the protocol for communicating with this kind of devices. But we are not using only Modbus. We are using any kind of protocol like CP or Z-Wave. Okay, that kind of protocols have improved a lot in the past years. So I think we are pretty confident about the hardware and the technology to use. So we can put this on our office or at home to measure the consumption, the energy consumption. Okay, and then with a driver made by us, we are able to control, but not only control the device, but to actuate over the device. So we can switch on, switch off, so we can control the level of the temperature or the thermostat within your home. This is done completely remotely. And we have developed applications on top of all the smartphones, iOS, Android, even Windows Phone, and we have applications as well for Windows 8 tablet. So here you can see the first machine-to-machine application combining energy and security within a home or office environment or even a building. So it's completely wireless and remotely.
This is the main dashboard of the application. Okay, we can see here the power consumption during February or the live power consumption, but always everything in real time. Okay, and here, so we can switch between manual mode or eco mode because the middleware application has a context awareness engine, so it's able to detect if some people are at home or they are switching on the washing machine. Okay, and here we can ask for a pic from our office or at home. and then we can receive the pick. This is our office. I work there. And we can even arm or disarm the alarm, so we can be secure at home.
Okay, I would advise younger people to get more knowledge about these devices, to read a lot on the internet, to study the new technologies, and even to try to code or to develop something. I'm a software engineer, and I would like that young people go into computer engineering careers and start developing some amazing stuff. So if they have an idea, they can contact us and we will see what we can do.
As you can see, a very cool company. I really like what they're doing, and I think this will really catch on. So good luck to them. Right, I just thought we'd finish all this off by having a word from the local government, who've actually organised in bringing the Mobile World Congress here.
The Mobile World Congress, the first edition was in 2006, and the Mobile World Congress is coming from Keynote. From 2002 to 2006 was an edition in the city with a small people was coming to this village, and when we won the bid to receive the Mobile World Congress here, was a little congress, and in just 6 years we grew the congress in more than triple that the people was in the beginning. So now in this year we have 76,000 people around the Mobile World Congress, 1,400 companies. The most important companies are here present in Catalonia, and it's a big change, a big opportunity for us, not only for us, but also all the companies that are represented here. Well, the impact in Barcelona, we have different types of measures. One of them is the real impact just in 1 week. It's approximately 300 million euros. Just in 1 week, but the most important thing is that last year we won a bid with Jasmine, that we won the first mobile world capital, and the mobile world capital is a huge program to develop a hub in Catalonia, from Catalonia to the world. The mobile world capital has 4 pillars. One of them is the Mobile World Congress, as you can see. Another one is the Mobile World Festival. It's how we connect the citizens and the technology and music and export and culture, so everything together with mobile. Another one is Mobile World Center that we opened just last week, and it's a beautiful building that there are in Plaza Catalonia with three floors, and you can see and touch everything new in the mobile industry. And of course the crown of our business is how we develop the Mobile World Hub. The Mobile World Hub is a space when the traditional companies and the technological companies come together and develop new solutions and help the industry to create a new environment for new services and products. Well, we try to help these companies, all of them, because all of them are really small companies. If they want to be present in the Mobile World Congress, it's very, very difficult because they don't have enough resources to buy this space, because as you know, the Mobile World Congress is extremely expensive because they are the most powerful companies here. So the government of Catalonia helped these companies to be here and to give this support. All of them had a bid and passed the bid, and we choose the best companies in Catalonia to be here. It's a huge opportunity for them because they have space, they have the pass, the tickets for gift to the customers, and we try to help these small companies, you know, and develop innovation and everything that is working. All of them. The young people, basically, the young people, yes, come. I think that we are building up a really huge opportunity for them, because we are not only talking about technology, if not we talk how we can change the world, other industries. Let me give you an example. If you take a locker company, they produce lockers, it's very difficult to innovate these companies. Just you can change the color of the key, or maybe make smaller the locker, something like this. But if you put together the engineering that is developing these kind of lockers and put together the companies that develop solutions with near-field communications, you can create a new product made from the old solution plus new solution, and you can open a locker with mobile. You know, so if we think in this kind of line, or we think in this line, it's not only to develop new engineers for telecommunications or ACT solutions. If not, we can put together all engineers, industrial engineers with technology engineers, put together to develop new solutions and new opportunities for all of them. And the mobile capital is a place where you can start, you can find this kind of solutions and these opportunities.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
As you can see, people here are already leaving. We're in the last hour of the Thursday of the Mobile World Congress. So we've had quite a big insight into our industry and how it's progressing. And it's been a really lot of fun, but however, quite exhausting and quite tiring. Well, thank you for watching. I've been Robert Webber, and I hope you've enjoyed this quite a lot. Bye.